Welcome to Sequence. I'm going to demonstrate a lot of the capabilities that this app has to offer. So what you'll do first is import your media. So let's bring in this test clip. And you'll notice there was a little bit of processing going on whilst that was brought into the app. And what that was doing was it stored and probed the metadata of the file. So it's a very convenient way to see the specs of the file that you've brought in. If we do a transcription, what it will do while it's doing this is it analyzes the audio as well. So it can find points that are classed as silent, it can find parts that are classed as music, background music, and it basically builds a bit of a profile on that audio and then runs the transcription model. If you had a bunch of files and you imported them into your sidebar, selected them all and hit transcribe, you would notice after the first one is probably done, all of the rest are blazing fast. Because basically what we do is when the transcription is triggered, we load the model, which is using Parakeet v3, but has been customized and tuned and actually achieves a pretty outstanding benchmark. It loads that model into memory, but rather than hogging up your resources on your computer, once a transcription is done, we have a 30-second threshold and then it clears out the memory. So it keeps the footprint of the app really, really tiny. So you'll always notice that the first one is just a smidge bit slower than if you were to have the model hot and ready. So one thing that probably jumps out straight away is orange words. So orange words are when the model has a lower confidence score on that transcribed word. So in this case, O was flagged as low confidence. If you wanted to remove that, you can simply right click and mark as correct. And then you'll notice down in the status bar, it doesn't show any low confidence words as well. And then some of the pretty awesome features are cleaning up filler words, removing profanity, removing silence. So if we go into this transcript options, you can see filler words. So if we disable filler words, apply, you can see they're gone. And they're gone now from the playback as well. So if we go to this point in the video and I do jump to word and I hit playback, you'll see in this subtitle bar at the bottom that is gone, such as removing profanity. See, it was gone and it went straight on to removing profanity. So if we do the same thing now for profanity, and you'll notice here you've got a lot of different options. So you can skip it, which will do the same as when you remove filler words. It will just straight cut, put a tiny little nice fade on there. And you won't see it. You can either silence it, so it will just drop the audio at that point and bring it back up. You can add a beep, and we've got this little badge here that says Auto DB because basically it looks at the audio decibels of the source audio, the video, and it will make sure that beep is balanced and well suited for this variant. And then you can also choose what the captions do. So you can do keep edges, and this little preview here will show you exactly what that does. Or you can do alternative letters like that, or just completely full mask. So if we do keep edges, and another nice little feature is being able to change the symbol. So you can literally put whatever you want in here. If you want to fire up an emoji, you absolutely can. It's completely up to you. And then we do apply, and you'll see that that's been brought into the edit here. So if we continue this, and so you can see that there was that beep sound effect that was added in, and you can see that your custom emojis are brought in there. So if you wanted to also sort out the silence, you go to the more and hit remove silence. And in here, you get to change your threshold. For starters, that video doesn't have any silent moments below 2 seconds. So you see, if I bring this threshold down, you can see 1 moment can be removed, 2 moments could be removed. So if we just do this first one, And if you wanted to just check what that was, you can go back to Show Transcribe or just close this inspector pane, and you can see that that's the section up here that's now being shown. And then you could right click, remove silence. And again, if you wanted to do that in bulk, you can do that over here and restore. So you can restore all at once if you so wish. And then another nice feature is markers. So if I just go to a random point in the video and hit M on my keyboard, and this is our sponsor break 1. We've got that here. And then we do over here, hit M and do sponsor break 2. And there we go. So I can quickly flick between those 2 points in the video, and they are marked on your playback bar. So another pretty cool feature is in your library, which is here on the left, you can filter by covers. So you can basically add, if you do YouTube videos, you could add your thumbnail right here. So let's do that. Let's bring in this example thumbnail here. And all of these panes are expandable and resize and adjust. So you can then basically at a glance before you even post your video, just check if it kind of fits. If you can just see your list of projects. So another cool feature that we added to the split panes is double click. So that will readjust to a min and max point for the panes. Just, it's a little quality of life feature. When you are also in this transcript view, you can use the filters. So if you just want to see the silent sections highlighted, if I just want to see the profanity, if I just want to see the filler, and everything that's just been enabled. And what that will do is when you actually select then the text using this marquee selector, it will not pick up the ones that you filtered out. So it gives you just a little bit more flexibility. And if you then wanted to copy that, that'll copy it to your clipboard, move it wherever you want to put it. Yes, you might want to do this. You can either right click and do break or hit the /, and that then brings it onto its own new line. And if you wanted to group, you can right click a multi-selection and do group, or you can do the shortcut. So Command, Option and / and it puts it back together. So it's another neat little way to edit with text. Another cool thing is being able to rearrange sentences. So I can drag and move that point up here. And then let's jump to this point in the video, and you'll see that this has then been rearranged. And then I can then move it back. And another thing to point out is all of the changes that you've done do populate in this history pane, and then global search. So if we go into here and I type sequence, you can see just like that, it found that point in the video, 4 seconds, where I say sequence. You can also filter by content or metadata. If you wanted to search for every video that you've used Dolby Atmos, you could search for Dolby Atmos and it will come up. Cool. And you see when I clicked it, it then jumped me straight to that point in the video. If you also wanted to search for a keyword without using the global search, you can just right click on any word in your transcript and do find others globally. And that'll basically populate that term into the global search for you. If you wanted to find, if you had a really long podcast and you wanted to find a particular point inside your transcript, just in this one variant project, you can go on to more options and find within transcript. And this brings your very standard, familiar find within page. So in here, if I type profanity, you'll see that comes up. I type O, and there's shortcuts. So I can toggle between Command G or Command Shift G to go back. If you wanted to have one version that was just showing a tiny little clip for social media, for example, what you'd do is you would add a new variant. So if we add a new variant and let's do create a new version. Basically, duplicate would copy absolutely everything from this version. But if you do create new version, you'll end up with this screen. So you can either transcribe again or copy from any of your other tabs that you've got up here. You can copy the transcript over. So if I just copy that over, you can basically see that is brought over, and you can use your command tabs to basically go through these. And as you can see, the markers are assigned just to each variant. So you basically just need to make sure you're in the right variant because each of those are scoped. So in this case, if I wanted to just delete that, that's then made this variant a lot shorter than this variant. And you can see based on the time changes here, from 39 seconds to 21 seconds, and it's very quick, just like that. If we go back to this first variant, we can normalize the audio. So if you open up this pane here, there's some presets here, but you can also customize it however you want. So let's just go for the social one by default and hit continue, let it run its process, and then we'll save that file. If you're wondering, is it compressing the audio? Is it doing anything like that? It copies a one-to-one copy in lossless out of your video and applies those normalizations to it. And then you have the sidecar file that you just saw me save at the end of that step. That audio is then fed into this variant. So if I play this back, and I'm going to demonstrate all of the capabilities, you'll see it's a lot louder, it's a lot more compressed. So that's everything that normalization has just done to that file. And when we go into the metadata pane, you'll see that the source audio is now changed. It's now showing us that it's connected to this normalized audio file. And you can see the specs of the audio are the same as it was when we imported the video. It's just it's been tuned by sequence. If you want to delete that, of course, you can delete that here. And if you go back to this pane, you can see the settings that you did apply. And again, you can delete it. You'll also notice that there's external audio here. So the idea with this is if you have exactly the same length video and you wanted to edit the audio in Logic Pro, for example, you can go ahead and do that and then connect it back into here. A little spoiler, in the future, we do have an auto sync feature that is coming, but that is not near release yet. So that's why they've got to be the same length of time. Otherwise they'll be a bit out of sync. To keep all of your projects organized, you can use the catalogs. So you can see here, I've built a bunch of catalogs, and whenever you want to make a new one, you just hit this, and we can just call this another example, and then it goes into that project. Let's go back to the tutorial one. So again, you can see these projects load up rather quick. So let's do an export. So once you open up this pane, you can choose your destination. So you've got Final Cut or DaVinci Resolve. And include native titles. That means it'll actually build the title layers. So let's do Final Cut. We'll build that, we'll do continue, give it this name, and that's it, it's built the timeline. So if we open up in Final Cut, bring it into this library, and I will bring over the screen here. Right, there we go. So you can see, based on my catalog name, that has made that event here, and the name of the variant is brought in here. And actually, you can already see that those emojis were brought in and the beep has been applied. So if I zoom in, you can see that we do on either side of that, so that then it's just not quite as sharp when it's cutting the words. And it's the same for removing filler words. So we basically drop those 2 points out. And you can see all of those native titles are on here. And if you did decide to put markers in, you'll see that those little marker points are brought in here, or if you open up your index, you can see those marker points are here. So matching what you did in sequence. So when you do DaVinci Resolve export, it needs to have DaVinci Resolve open so that the scripting Lua internal scripting language in Resolve can communicate with sequence. So it builds out the project and then I can open in DaVinci Resolve and I'll bring that screen over. Okay, so you can see here that again, all of those native titles have been brought in and the markers are included. You've got that normalized audio file and the beep file for the profanity. You'll notice this little action center icon that will sometimes appear. And that is either when long running processes are happening, say if you're running 100 transcriptions, they will all queue up. So basically everything you do in sequence can build upon the queue. Another small thing worth mentioning is the playback speed can be changed here. You can also use shuttle commands, so K, J, L on your keyboard. So I can flick through frame by frame, holding K and tapping L, and I can also go backwards by pressing J. If you want to do picture in picture, you can absolutely do that as well. And then just close it over here or press it back in sequence and it will go back straight into the application. You can turn looping on and off so the playback will just keep going and going. And if you want to mute just sequence, but you have some music playing because now that you're editing with text, you don't necessarily need to hear the video as easily for this kind of rough cut stage, you can bring down the audio or just simply mute it. So when I first demonstrated bringing in the media into sequence, we use that import flow from the empty catalog. But once you are in this, you can see that you're in the library pane here. You can either use the bottom import media icon, or you can just drag and drop all of your media into this pane and you'll see it kind of highlight in a blue color just to indicate that's where you're dropping it. And it supports bulk import. So you could bring a humongous folder right over and it will manage all of that for you. Let's take a quick look at the settings. Within general, there's a quick and easy way to get to your account. If you want a secure sequence, you can lock the app with Touch ID. You can change the theme. You can change the language. If you want notifications, toggle that. This is where you'll need to download the model when you first launch sequence and you want to begin a transcription. And then you can run as many transcriptions as you want all offline. This section here is showing the example of what the titles will look like when you export out into either Final Cut or DaVinci Resolve. Down here are the filler words, so you can add and extend that list as many as you want. So if we go to the audio tab now, you can see the remove silence. So when I was demonstrating that earlier, there was that threshold that I was adjusting. You can have a global default. So if you're always changing that threshold to just 1.5, then you can set that here. This is also where the profanity filter words come into play. So again, if you want to extend that list, go ahead and do so. We've redacted this so you don't see a bombardment of swear words when you open this page. If we go to conversion, there's the ability to delete remixing files. So basically when you import a project and Final Cut is very much unlikely to be able to play that media, you have the choice to do a conversion on the files. Otherwise sequence won't actually play or show you the video. What it will do to start with is it will try and remix the file before converting, which will create a one-to-one copy, but in a different container. If that's not possible, it will do the conversion. You can set custom bitrate, as you can see here, or just leave it on auto, and it will try and build the appropriate profile based on the metadata that it captured when you first imported. the media. Okay, so if we take a look at export, these are some extra sidecar files that you can add to your export. If, for example, every time you export, you want to be able to put your transcript into a document or into ChatGPT or an agent, then exporting as a TXT file is probably pretty helpful. Under keyboard, there are all of the keyboard shortcuts that Sequence has to offer. All of those transcription options that we were playing with earlier, you can do with shortcuts, and they're all shown here. So that covers most of the features that Sequence has to offer. If you have any requests, questions, then please let me know, comment, send us an email. If you go to sequencetool.com, you can get to all the relevant links. Happy editing.